All right, all right. First and foremost, we give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High God Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ Yahweh Shai. It's your brother, Chief Priest Ahlazar, one lawyer, aka the Guerilla Hebrew.
Deacon Hakah.
Joined, of course, Deacon Hakah. We have a guest on the platform this evening. His brother's name is Miguel. He is a former member of the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. Y'all may know them. The man who had proclaimed himself to be the God-sent comforter, Tazadakia, who's currently going through some very serious litigations in federal court. I think he's looking to be sentenced next month. But yeah, so everybody, a lot of people in Israel, like people who are new in Israel may not know about what we call comfy all that much. But if you came in, you know, around the time myself, the Deacon Hakah came in, or before, you know about this guy a lot. You know, in his outlandish claims and things of that nature. This man, his brother who we have on tonight, he formerly was a part of that. So we gonna, before we get into the discussion topics, I guess we could do a little background as far as that goes, just so we can familiarize everybody. Just give me 1 second. Make sure everybody likes, sub, share, super chat, all that good stuff. I'm just making sure I'm sharing this throughout my socials. Real quick. Now. Okay. So brother Miguel,
yes, sir.
Real quick. So how long again, or just give us a little, I guess, some background. When did you join the ICGJC, and then when did you leave the ICGJC?
So I joined in 2004, and I was actually put out in 2010 because they have strict rules about attending classes, and I was missing some classes, so I was temporarily put out, and I decided never to return about 2015 when a good brother called me up and told me that, you know, all this was about to go down. So I knew that way back in 2015 that all this that's happening now was going to happen eventually. And
that's when the investigation started. It became apparent to membership that there was an investigation.
Right. So he's still maintaining a lot of the membership, but I mean, I kind of knew right away because even while I was in there, you know, there was like videos coming up of him partying, and you know, things were funny, but my devotion was pretty much to the church, and the fact that Ariyah was in there was pretty big to me too. You know, the man that created that sign, pretty much. So looking at all that and looking at the different groups, I was like, I kind of held on for a while, but once that brother called me up, you know, like I said, he's a good brother. He's been in there for a minute in New York, and he's one of the pioneers for the Orlando branches for that ICGJC church, or the Florida branches, not Orlando. I'm in Orlando, but so
did you join in Orlando? Or you joined up top in New York?
I joined in Orlando. I heard it in New York, but I didn't join until I came out here. And when I did join in 2004, there was no we used to hold classes out of a crib, you know, out of somebody's house. And then you know, it kind of we kind of helped it grow a little bit. There was a lot of it was growing, you know. There was a lot of money going around in the church, and there was things happening. And you could see some of the money was being used to do some events, and then he started getting a little crazy with the money, and you know, that's what led to what's going on with him now. He got a little reckless.
Okay, so when did you see this stuff getting crazy with the money? How far into it? What year would you say?
About 2008,
Yep.
maybe 2007.
Yeah.
He had the bus, the tour bus.
So, is that who is that with that extra noise? Is that Miguel, or is that with all this extra noise I'm hearing?
I'm not sure. It could be my phone. My phone sometimes sound is a little off. I'm not sure.
Okay. So you say about 2007, 2008, because I know that I first came in 2008. It was August 2008, and right when I came in was like the height. It was a height of all these videos coming out, and him partying and the big tour bus and things of that nature.
Right.
So yeah, 2008. That sounds about right. And all I can think, I remember when I was first seeing him, because the first video I ever saw was Great Millstone, and that's the organization that I would consequently end up initially joining. But
yeah,
it was like a lot. It was like a lot of back and forth beef between GMS and ICGJC at that time. But I remember before I really knew that there was a difference, in different organizations. I just thought it was I would just look up Hebrew Israelites on YouTube and just watch whatever I would see. I was running across a lot of Tazadakia videos, and between his teachings and seeing those type of videos, I just was like, yeah, this ain't it. This can't be it. This is too, it just seemed too worldly. You know what I'm saying? So I remember that same time period. So that makes sense.
right.
Okay, so you got removed in 2010. Did you ever regain membership, or you just kind of remain like a outcasted follower?
Exactly. I was like an outcasted follower.
Okay.
I still hung out with some of the current members, but never really decided to come back because I was kind of just trying to find my own way, and just kind of trying to get away from all the they put a lot of demands on you, at that time. Especially I had high rank, so I didn't have time for nothing. Like, I had very little time for my family and stuff. And when they put me out, I looked at it as kind of like a blessing in disguise, in a way.
Okay. So you being there for 6 years, and these were some of the 6 most pivotal years, in controversial years. So I know that there's certain doctrines that came out, there's certain edicts and things that came out. So I definitely want to ask you about those things. The first thing I'm gonna ask you about is, of course, double and triple tides. I know double tides is the norm, right?
Right. That's the minimum.
Minimum. But then there's times where triple tides were enforced.
Now, it wasn't called a third tithe. It'll be called just like a fund or something that you got to give for.
Okay.
Yeah, for whatever's going on at the time, like one of the high holy days or a picnic, things like that.
You need a fund for that. So basically, though, every time you get paid, the church is expecting 20% of all of your income.
Right, 20%. Yeah. They go to Tobit, and they try to make it seem like that was the law when Tobit paid it like an extra 10th for the Passover or whatever. But that's completely wrong.
Yeah. Of course. So if you could maybe walk us through, I know there's some certain things that came out at certain Passovers and things of that nature. So if you could, over your time, your tenure there, if you could maybe isolate a couple of things where there were some substantial doctrine changes or edicts that came out that were funny or new or radical or things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely. There was always slight changes in the doctrines here and there. So one thing that stands out, since I came in 2004, Tazadakia had just started coming out with him being, he's being spoken to by God or whatever. And he alludes back to some 1999. Supposedly he had went to Israel in 1999, and then it came out that he actually never even left the country. Wow. You could actually look that up. If you know anybody that works at TSA, it's not hard to look that up. So he's been lying since.
So his passport is not stamped. He never went to Israel.
Right. He never left the country. Like,
oh, he doesn't even have a passport. Basically,
he doesn't even have a passport.
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't have a passport, and he claims to have gone to Israel, and I mean, even the mountain that they claim is Mount Sinai. I think that's the wrong one, anyways. But
yeah, that's not in Mount Sinai. I want to say Mount Sinai is not in Israel.
Well, it's not in Egypt, and I think that. Yeah.
He claims to have went to Egypt.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah, it's definitely not in Egypt. It's either, I want to say, it's in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
Both
right.
of the sites, the two disputed sites of Sinai are in Saudi Arabia, so that doesn't work.
Right. So, so what started happening is that he started telling that story, and it started changing as the years went by, because when he first told the story, he just kind of told us that he went there and God spoke to him, and he went into a trance, and they thought he fell off the mountain or something, because they was looking for him all over the mountain and nobody could find him, supposedly. But he never said that anybody was there with him, like any of the apostles. But then, like, as the year went by, he had brought that up again and tried to include Arya and Shar in there. And it just seemed funny as hell. There's a video of that. And, Shar told a story, and then Tazadaki was like, that's not how it happened. Like, right in front of everybody in class. And he, like, retold it how it supposedly happened. And it was like, it just seemed funny. It seems like Arya and Shar just kind of going along with all this crap,
Yeah.
So that was real funny right there. But the Comforter doctrine had changed. Originally, it was that that he's the Comforter and that he's the Holy Spirit that is spoken about in John 14, chapter 14, 15, and 16.
Okay, so it was emphatically that he is the Holy Spirit.
Right. That's the way he taught it first. It was a DVD in 2004 when I came in. So about 2006, he had a speaking engagement somewhere in Manhattan, in like Midtown, and I actually went up there from Florida, and then he started saying that John the Baptist was the first comforter, since Jesus Christ says, "I will send you another comforter."
Another comforter. Yeah, okay.
Right. So he started saying that John the Baptist was the first comforter, and he was alluding to Isaiah chapter 41, I believe, where it says, "The spirit of him that crieth in the wilderness."
Okay. So what he's trying to substantiate is that it's not radical to think that a man is this Holy Spirit because John was the first one.
Right. Exactly. I think that's why he tried to do. Well, there's a video he says it just like that. It's not so crazy to think that, because look, John the Baptist was one, but that doctrine wasn't taught when he first came out with the Comforter doctrine. What was taught was that Jesus Christ was the Comforter, the first one. So he changed that in the span of 2 years, pretty much. So it was little things always changing here and there. He had
basically like the cleanup, like this. We got to come clean this up a little bit, because this really ain't making no sense. So we got to do something to kind of make a little bit more sense, type of thing.
Right, exactly. Yep. And then there was a breakdown that had came out about the 3 unclean spirits like frogs in Revelation, and he said that it's fascism, or no, he said socialism, communism, and capitalism. And when you do the research on that, there's an old white dude back in the 30s that broke that down. So this cat is taking old breakdowns, but he changed the fascism, I think, was one of the frogs, and he changed it to capitalism. So what this cat does is that he'll take an old breakdown from somewhere else, he'll recycle it and kind of make it his own, pretty much.
Okay.
It seems to me that somebody's teaching him. I don't think he came up with this idea on his own to just take over this church. He's being taught by somebody.
It's somebody behind the scenes kind of puppeteering this thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's safe to think that it's not the elders, because it to me, from the outside, and even from a couple of things that you said, it seems as if the elders are kind of just like going along with whatever's being said. They're not controlling the show, or else they would be propped up, I would think, as the guy.
Right. There's a few schools of thought there. I mean, some people think that they're behind it. I've spoken to some people that just they're positive that Arya's down with all this, and because there's some Israelites that don't believe in that 12 tribes breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
So they believe that that's like some type of that was like something that somebody taught him that. Somebody taught Arya that, and to bring that out, because that helps people to self-identify and it's like a whole thing behind it. I was speaking to one old school, one West cat. You know, I have my own YouTube channel. If you don't mind me putting that out there.
Yeah, plug it.
Yeah, it's San Miguel TV. And
oh, that's you. Okay.
That's me, right? My main thing was originally to just expose Tazadakia.
Okay, yeah, we was just watching you last night. Met me and the brother right here. I'm with Ahlazar. Yeah, we was just watching the video. I didn't realize this was you. Yeah, we was just watching your channel last night. The one what video was it? Ahlazar?
It was Tahar,
and the Great Millstone.
Yeah.
Tahar is Great Millstone. Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that was you. All right, go ahead.
Right. So yeah, there's people that think that Arya is kind of down and like scheming also, but then there's some people that think Arya is just being fooled like everybody else, and that could be it. I've heard them say, I've heard different things.
I'm of the school of thought personally that he's complicit. I mean, he's just kind of going along. It doesn't make any sense to me that he's being bamboozled, or the wool is being pulled over his eyes from a dude who was an underling in his organization, especially when you talk to people who are at One West and the importance that was put on the top rank, to think that he would let somebody from the underling, the lower ranks come in and totally bamboozle him and pull the wool over his eyes. I think that's far-fetched.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it's up for debate, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we had, so there was that switch there. Okay, what about, when did they come out with the doctrine that Yahweh is the name of the Son and we don't know the name of the Father? Were you there for that doctrine?
Right. Yes, I was. That was one of the ones that I've actually studied the most to kind of understand that, because it was a little weird how they broke that down. You could kind of maybe get that idea from the New Testament. They would use the scripture, I think it's John chapter 8, verse 58.
58, yeah. I am for
right.
I am.
So you're familiar. Yeah, they use that. They use John chapter 1, verse 1.
Okay. So basically, are you have you ever studied since then how that's like the Mormons believe that?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know the Mormons believed that. But that's not a shock, because they seem to be taking a lot of stuff from the Mormon doctrines. So
I've heard that too.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I heard somebody try to say, now I don't know this for sure. I heard somebody talk about Arya literally teaching out of the Book of Mormon.
Yes, there's some old school One West. There's actually, I was taught by the dude that brought that out. Out here in Florida, he was like the head teacher at the time in 2004. His name is excuse me. His name is Ahlazar. He's down with I think his channel is Shut 'Em Down Crew or something like that. So it's Ahlazar and Aparium. These two brothers that known each other from.
Yeah, I know Aparium. I believe I know Aparium.
Okay, yeah, he's like a West Indian.
Yeah. I had a debate with him on the Mark of the Beast probably a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah, he's the one that I think came out with that. So they were actually eyewitnesses to that, and I don't think that they're lying about that.
What do you know what they said he was directly teaching out of the Book of Mormon, like what passage or what he was going into to substantiate?
To calling themselves chief high priests.
That term is from the Book of Mormon?
Yes, I believe so. It might be high priest or chief high priest.
Okay, because I know they call themselves chief high priest, which is a term we certainly don't see in the Bible. So we see chief priest and we see high priest. We certainly don't see chief high priest.
Exactly, which is what Tazadakia calls himself, apostle and chief high priest.
Yeah, and I've seen people. I watched a video of a class he was doing where people were coming up and asking him questions, and everybody had to literally say "Holy and God sent Comforter" before they addressed him.
Yeah, that's actually, that's mandatory. Like, you have to do that. You got to repeat that constantly. That's part of the brainwash and all that repetitive stuff. So yeah, every time we address Tazadakia, we can't just call him Tazadakia. We got to call him apostle and chief high priest, or holy God sent comforter. something like that. I don't know exactly. I mean, a lot of stuff had changed too while I was gone. So since I've been gone, but I'm pretty sure that's how they still have to address them: holy apostle and chief high priest, or holy God sent comforter. I don't know.
Yeah,
His title
okay.
is crazy.
So, something like that. What's interesting is as well, the videos I've seen of their Harlem school, the one at 1941 Madison. I see in there of a large amount of women in the school there in New York. A vast amount of women in the school there
Yeah.
in New York, which the average Christian church that's out there is, got large, female membership. And I mean, it's not a secret that, that's an easy way to get dough out of people. Let's just call it what it is. If you got a room full of women and children who are a little bit more vulnerable and gullible and naive and things of that nature, you're it's prey. People are getting preyed upon, essentially.
Right.
Definitely. What else I wanted to ask you about? Okay, we had boom that doctrine. What year did that doctrine come out though about Christ being Yahweh?
It was all around 2003, 2004.
Okay.
It might have come out maybe a few years before that, because a lot of like he started putting in a lot of the changes maybe 2002, but most of the doctrines was 03, 04.
Okay.
03, 04. Yeah, so and along with that came like this whole like Christianizing. It was like he was going away from like that hardcore 90s feel. How they were back in the 90s was like they were no joke. You look at some of these old school videos and tapes, it's like
even when he was on Springer. Remember when he was on Jerry Springer?
Exactly, right. Yeah, so you see like he changed, and now he's more like, doesn't want to come off like too aggressive. And then he was putting out orders too that when we start going out to camp, that he doesn't want to hear us sounding nothing like, you know, um, like um, like racist. Like we don't want to sound like we just out here just to tear down white people and stuff like that. So it started becoming more about, just focus on teaching the Israelites and teaching them scriptures on love and making them feel, loved, and bringing them in instead of trying to attack and teach hate, or I mean, he didn't say like that, but just he said, you don't want to sound like the KKK. I remember him saying that.
Okay. Also, so
Yeah.
like when I watched the video when he was coming out of court, and it was brothers recording. I don't know if you were amongst that, but the brothers recording, all the members kept yelling, "Turncoat, fool, turncoat, fool." Is that what they do to people who leave the church?
Right. Yes, they do. But more specifically to those brothers that was around, those are some ex-members that they mostly believe that the Israelites still, but they was out there, and some of them actually became informants to help out the FBI and give up certain information on where. Yeah.
So some of them was telling them.
Some of them brothers actually did turn into informants. So I don't know if the term applies correctly. I mean, but if you're doing nothing wrong, what can anybody tell on you on? So I mean, that whole informant thing is just a way of them to kind of like calling, like how they was calling GMS the rebels and all that. When I was in there, that was heavy. They was calling all these other camps rebels, and make sure y'all don't even listen to these other camps.
Yeah, because
they
broke off from the whole concept was ICGJC. Was it always ICGJC as long as you was in there?
Yes, it was always that.
Okay, so when did that name change come? Like 02 as well?
Nah, Israelite Church of God. What was weird about it is that there was a slight change in 03 or 04 from Israelite Church of God and Jesus Christ to Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ.
Ooh, because of course there's a difference between and in.
Right. So that was a little funny too, because I know how that whole LLC thing works, and that's a difference. That's a big difference right there. So,
Yeah.
but in 1997, they changed it from
ICUPK, right?
right. There you go.
Yeah,
So
from ISUPK to ICUPK. It seemed
yeah,
like you said, they've been over the course of time. They wanted to start going into a new direction, churchy. They go from Israelite school, now it goes to Israelite church. We know that's, of course, 97 is after the substantial split when you have ISU became House of David. Then all of a sudden, it seems as if they start going in this new direction, cleaning it up.
right.
ICUPK, then ICGJC. Now we're going to go to a more Christian feel. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. So that's and of course we know because the Christian feel, the more softer appeal is, is going to bring in more money. It's just, let's just call it what it is. More people are going to be more inclined to join something that's more along those lines, even though it still has the identity aspects of the Israelite theology, but then it has like the softer side, and that's even now. If you look at the for example, if you're familiar with the GOCC Gathering of Christ Church, they have a more Christian feel. They have an extremely large congregation globally.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is due to the catering to the softer side people. Like in here, I at least believe. I mean, I think it's logical to deduce that.
Right.
Okay. Is there another Deacon? Do you have any questions about the ICGJC before we go any further?
No, I'm just listening, soaking up the recap.
Yeah, I want to ask you this too. So Aria Shar, tell me about your experiences or your what you are taking from them, and the times I'm sure you've encountered them in the flesh, and then I'm sure is whatever. So if you could just kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah. So I mean, what I always got from Ariyah was that, I mean, he's always respected. I never seen Tazadakia really disrespect him in any way. I remember there was a class where they was talking about that holy or immaculate conception doctrine. Once Tazadakia introduced that to Ariyah.
Yeah, when did he introduce that?
Around 2003.
Okay.
So Ariyah was telling the story how he was bucking up. He was like, I wasn't trying to hear it. I was bucking up until he showed him something, and I think it was Luke chapter 1 or something like that convinced him. And yeah, that was a class in One West. I was like, One West was still open when I joined, so I actually got to come into some of the One West classes and see that building.
When did they leave One West and go to 1941 Madison?
2006.
Okay. So One West was still booming until 2006. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was there, but you could tell like they was making the move to migrate over because they already had 1941, but there was like some type of fire or something, and they had to renovate it. So 1 West was like really tiny. So there was no room. It was hot, there was fans, all these fans
outgrew One West basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's an Applebee's now, so that thing's gone.
I want to say that Applebee's closed too. It's not even the Applebee's no more. I think the Applebee's closed actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so Ariel was always got his respect.
Yeah, but Shar was like, he was bullied. I've seen him be bullied by Tazadakia, just like everybody else. Tazadakia is like a big bully. So
bully pretty much everyone except Ariel.
Except Ariel, right? I've never seen him speak to Ariel in any tone or manner like he did with Shah. Like he spoke to Shah like Shah was just nothing. Like he was under him. And just to throw this out there's someone that's a good friend of mine that he knows Shah's next door neighbor. I think it's up somewhere in like Westchester County or something. Up in the Bronx or something like that. So when Tazadaki was put on the front page of the Daily News, I don't know if y'all know about that. He was put on the front page of the Daily News.
I remember.
Right. So the neighbor asked Shar about that. He was like, what's going on? Why is this happening in your church? And so, according to this dude, Shar's response was that one man's wickedness doesn't represent the church. So he's like acknowledging that he knows he's doing evil, but you know he's still under him. It's like he knows that he just doesn't have any power, and Tazadake just wields so much power that he could turn everybody against you at any time, and that's the definition of a cult right there.
Yeah, no, it is, and also like you said, like because even somebody like Shar, I mean, you're Shar, you're somebody as far as quote unquote One West Hebrew Israelites go. You're a major somebody. So at any time you could leave. You could start a school tomorrow, and people are going to join just predicated off the fact that you're Shar. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's you're not stuck in there. You're not like just some lowly dude. You know what I'm saying? You're somebody. Same thing with Arya. At any point, you don't have to sit up there and subjugate yourself to that. So that's what lets me know that there's a salary that is connected to sitting up there and allowing this stuff to go on. It has to be.
Well, there was a story that came out because, like I said, there were some brothers that turned informants.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that supposedly if Tazadake would have continued with the not guilty plea, which he switched it to guilty recently, that an apostle was supposedly going to be a witness, like one of the big witnesses, and it was speculated that was Shar.
Wow. So it sounds like they had their own version of the damn Treyway indictment going on over there, and and top guys start singing. It would make sense that if he was, usually in any organization, especially if we're dealing with a criminal organization, usually if the guy at the top is mistreating certain of his underlings, usually those be the ones to flip, because if they was getting mistreated, they don't feel like they need to be loyal to somebody who didn't value them or whatever. So it would make sense that it would be Shar instead of course Arya, who seems to have been treated well. Okay, so all right. Is there, I want to say, is at least one more question I got. So when once the indictment came down, because like you said, so you kind of disconnected yourself in 2015 once you heard things were happening. So once the indictment finally happened, what's going through your mind?
Well, when the raid when the raid happened in 2016, I was just waiting on that because Tazadake was talking like he was talking crazy all up until then. He was talking like, ain't nothing happened yet. What's taking so long? And he did this crazy long radio show.
It's the feds, brother.
Exactly.
They gonna come, and they ain't gonna come tomorrow, but they gonna come.
Right. And he was calling me out. There's a long radio show out there where he took it off of his whatever it was on. But one of the ex-members had actually recorded it, and I got parts of it on some of my videos. But he was going on for like 3.5 hours, inviting people to call in, the rebels or whatever, so he could shut them down. And he exposed a lot on there. He was calling me out like crazy, but I was never able to get through. He never put me on, but I was on there, and I was just waiting till then. I was like, I know something's gonna happen, and I think it was a year after that radio show that the raid happened, and you see the video of him just looking bewildered out there on 125th Street, just looking like out of his I never seen him look like that. He's just like he's a dude that has a gift for gab, and you never hear him talk like that. He was just like shocked, So when I seen that happen, I knew it was pretty much over. And I was trying to contact. I still have family in there that still believes till this day, like she's like a sister to me. It's my cousin pretty much, and I was just trying to reach her and trying to show her like, yo, look what's happening. And she wouldn't listen to me. But that's what made me start that channel first. Was trying to get to them because they'll listen to you indirectly. They just have orders not to talk to people, especially someone like me who's like. I'm like the devil I'm considered the devil to these guys.
Yeah.
Because I'm just outing them. So after the indictment, that's when I was like, I was up in New York at that time, and I did a short video on that. Because it was him and Tzapawan. Tzapawan is another one that I'm just like, how stupid can you be, man? He's just getting dragged into all this. But I mean, after I saw that, I knew it was like was gonna help some people finally see, and slowly you start seeing members just coming out of there. I mean, the numbers are dwindling. Passover this year, I'm hearing, was like almost half as how it looked, like 3 years ago. So slowly it's just dwindling.
How
Yeah.
how large do you estimate the membership of the church is? Because um I've always seen on that website them boasting of churches all over the country. Everybody has not always been able to see. They haven't always been the most visible organization, but it seems as if they boast a large membership. And I've seen videos where I see like a pretty packed house at some of these events, high holy days and things of that nature. So where would you think the membership was, at least before the huge controversy?
Well, before the controversy, I'm gonna say it was maybe 2,000 to 3,000 tops, 3,000 tops. I don't think it ever got more than that.
Okay.
And right now, I'm gonna say like 1,200. That's maybe a little gracious, maybe
Okay.
800.
In between 8 and 12. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, their Passover used to be huge. But it was mandatory that everybody from every church had to come anyway. So, we had Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Orlando had like 50 members, 50 to 80. Miami about the same, and then Fort Lauderdale was really small, like 20. So Florida alone had about anywhere from 150 to 200, something like that. So that's Florida, and then they're in North Carolina. So you could kind of add it up. New York and Philly are, they're deep. Jersey deep. So yeah, man, they were up there. We were up there. I mean, when Boyz II Men coming out and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like it was like a damn party.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We seen the videos. Yeah, I actually my first time in Miami, man, we ran into some dudes selling CDs. And we was about to camp in South Beach, and so we started talking about the Israelite thing with the with the Brother Truth, whatever. And he's like, man, yeah, I was already into that. I was in ICGJC. I was an officer of 5,000. These niggas warped my mind, man. I had to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, man. A lot of people in there, they're coming out. The longer you stay in there, the worse it's gonna be, I think, because you just got to tell. It's like you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself, telling yourself that this is all a setup. This is some type of big, everything's gonna be all right eventually, and it's just not. Some of these people are gonna have some type of shock when they come out of there, I think. But I got out of there at a good time, especially that time in between where, I was kind of still, believing, but I didn't really want to come back. But it was easy for me to see, like, once I heard, like, yo, this cat got like 30 cars, he's taking all this money, he got all these women. I kind of like, you didn't have to convince me of that. I kind of knew, kind of personality he had. You could kind of tell how he is. But I mean, that didn't really happen with me. Like it was pretty easy on me. My thing was like, now I got to figure out what was real and what wasn't, So
Exactly.
I started going back to the doctrine, and that's where I am now.
Yeah, which kind of leads us here. Okay, perfect, perfect segue. Okay, all right, Deacon.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So okay, I guess that's it on the intro. I think that's a perfect segue, so we can kind of get into everything else now.
Okay, well, I guess before we do that, my question would be, since you kind of outed, I know when people leave these camps or congregations, their doctrine changes. They may start to believe other things. I mean, what do you consider yourself? I mean, who is God to you? I mean, what book do you esteem as divine, or the book of whatever deity you're serving now? What's going on now, so-called religiously or spiritually, for San Miguel?
Right. Okay. So I wanted to just start at the neutral position and just be like, all right, well, I want to be convinced of all these things before I make any, come to any conclusions like I did before. So, I mean, I'm open to having my mind changed. I'm open if the evidence is available. I have no choice but to go with that. So, but as far as any religion, I don't hold to any religion. I don't believe in any religion or anything like that. I do I don't believe that the Bible has any inspiration from anybody on high. I believe that it was written by men, and it was their ideas and their wisdom that was put into that book. And I believe the same thing about the Quran, and every other holy book that people want to promote out there. I don't give one any props over the other. I think I look at it like it's all the same, pretty much. Like people claiming things that either hasn't been proven, maybe can't even. Some things I don't even think it can be proven. So it's like I would call myself something of like an agnostic.
Agnostic. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go from a standpoint of kind of like faith. So you don't deal with faith.
Right. Yeah, I think faith is a bad way to come to a conclusion. I don't think it's reliable, pretty much.
Okay. What does
but it
faith
depends
mean?
how you define faith, because there's two definitions.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. So what would be your definition of faith?
Religiously, faith to me, I think is having a belief, a strong belief in anything spiritual or religiously that they might not have conclusive evidence for, but they have faith, they have a feeling, and inside of them they feel like it's right, so that's what I think faith is if you define it religiously. But then there's faith like, you have faith that your spouse is not going to cheat on you or something like that, but that might still fall into the same category. So I got to look it up, but I remember there's two definitions for it, but that's the definition for like when people use it religiously.
So would you say you're a man of faith or no?
Yeah, but it depends which how you define faith. But I wouldn't say that I'm a man of a religious man, or like that I believe in anything that I can't prove, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you believe in evolution?
Yes, I do believe in evolution.
So you can prove that the Earth is 4.7 trillion years old?
Well, that's not evolution. That's evolution would be how the species evolved from one to another.
True.
I think that's dealing with that's the Big Bang theory.
Yeah, which is, they say that's the genesis of evolution.
No, that the Big Bang is the beginning of the what they say is the beginning of our universe.
How old do you think that the Earth is?
I don't know, man. According to what the scientists say, the Earth is about, I think they say 4.3 million. It's like they say like millions.
Okay.
No, trillion.
Might be billions.
No, it's trillion.
Well, there's in all fairness and truth, there's different schools of thought. So some say million, some say billion, some say trillion. So you're saying that you don't know? Well,
I know that it's definitely, it's probably closer to millions,
okay,
to those numbers rather than 6,000 to 10,000 or whatever.
Okay, so what leads you to the conclusion that it's millions of years old? What?
The fossil records.
The fossil record.
What they pull up, what they dig up from the earth, archaeology.
The fossil records.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we take a look at the fossils, how are fossils dated?
They carbon date, radioactive dating.
Okay, so radioactive carbon dating. So do you understand how radioactive carbon dating works?
Not 100%, no.
So you have faith?
I trust the scientific process. It's not the same as faith.
It is the same as faith. I'll explain, because Hebraically, the Hebrew word for faith is trust. It's amawan. So it's interchangeable. So if you trust the scientific process, you have faith in the scientific process.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe I do.
Okay, so because I mean, understanding, just to give you like a very simplistic overview of how radioactive carbon dating works, it's predicated upon a presupposition, right? So in order for the date that it renders to be true, the presupposition has to be true, right? So the presupposition that radioactive carbon dating is predicated on is that they know exactly how much carbon was in the world from the beginning of time to now, right? And they're measuring the carbon decay. But that means that they would have to emphatically know the exact amount of carbon that existed in the entire planet Earth at the beginning of time. So, I mean, just now thinking logically, how can anybody determine exactly how much? Now, let's factor one thing in, right? You may or may not believe in this, but if you have studied history, you know many civilizations and cultures believed in something called a global, or at least a large portion of the world was flooded. Right? Now, do you believe that there was a global flood?
No, I don't think there was.
You don't think there was, but you do acknowledge that pretty much all ancient cultures speak of this type of catastrophic flood.
Yeah, it's not that it's a, some cultures don't say it was worldwide, and there's different like mythologies too that go into that. Some of them were saved on giant clams, so we can't just believe everything that's in these different stories. But could it be that some of these stories were recycled from one to the other?
Oh, I certainly believe that, because if this, of course, we believe in the scripture. So if we believe that there was a global flood and 8 people made it through the flood, right? And those 8 people, and 6 of those 8 people went on to procreate all the people that exist on the earth, that this would be a story that all people of the earth would share a different, maybe a different aspect of, but pretty much the same story would exist amongst these people because it affected all of them, right? So it wouldn't be something that's exclusive to the Bible. So this is why I would conclude that all the people of the earth have a similar story of the flood, because it affected everybody.
Well, but if there were only 8 people, how could it affect everybody?
Because those 8 people went on to create all the people that exist now. Boom.
Right.
So that's why I would say that. But the reason why I'm saying that is because if something becomes immersed in water, then its carbon level is automatically corrupted. So there's no way to ever tell the amount of carbon that it started with, right? And then we have things like, in the Himalayas, you have all kind of aquatic fossils that were found in the Himalayas. So just to work towards various scientific evidences that substantiate that there was some type of major flood like that.
But mountains come from
the water. Come from the water.
So they rise up. So that's not really anything that conclusively. The thing with me with the flood, what made me really look at it real skeptically is the fossil records. How you have, like, let's say in Australia you have like the marsupial species that you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
If there was a global flood and all the animals came down, it would be species or bones all over the world, not just in one part of the world, which is Australia. So you would have bones of all these different species scattered and coming down everywhere. But when they dig, they don't find that. They don't find the bones of kangaroos, in Middle East. It's all in Australia. So that's one thing that's real big too. And also, how would those kangaroos have gotten to Australia? How could they jump over all that water? You could say that it was, the levels were down and all that. There's always a way around it, of course. But there's just no evidence to say that. It's very that global flood thing is very far-fetched to me. I gotta say that.
Okay, what? So the global flood thing is far-fetched, but carbon dating is not far-fetched.
Where did you study science and carbon dating?
At University of Washington.
You did?
Yes, I studied anthropology at University of Washington.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's nice. And paleontology?
I didn't study paleontology, no.
Okay.
Not at a university level, no.
Okay. See, the thing, I don't know it myself, but I know that if one person can study it and another person can study it and come to the same conclusion, that's objective. You can come to an objective truth. Whereas faith is more subjective because it's something that you feel. So that's how I look at science and religion. One is how people feel, and the other one is actually like based on data, is data driven. And as far as that carbon dating thing, I'm definitely gonna look that up. The being submerged in water also. But if you're saying that it was submerged in water and then that would destroy it, we're still assuming that the global flood still happened in order for that
Well,
to
no,
happen.
I just brought that up as an additional thing that would deter a fossil sample. But just again, the initial presupposition is based off of, I believe, is a fallacy. So the whole system then would be, and there's also plenty of examples of the same sample being sent to two different labs and having drastically different results, i.e., 1/8,000, 1/16 million. You know, this has happened several times throughout the history of radioactive carbon dating. So understanding that, I feel like it's extremely unreliable. Deacon, I know you there's a case that you like to bring out in regards to that.
Oh, the carbon dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what they can do is they can test, they can measure the amount of C14 that's in these fossils, and they can do that pretty accurately. They can measure decay, the amount of decay per time. They can do that very accurately, but they can't determine when it died.
Okay.
So that's a fact, and I'm just saying it in the simplest form of what the brother said. It's the same thing. They can definitely measure the decay, the rate that it's decaying, but they can't determine when it actually died. So it's a guess. It's a guesstimation of when this thing existed prior to them finding it.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I don't
that
have
is
no.
something.
I have no rebuttal against that. I'm gonna have to look it up.
No, that's a good research, and this is why we kind of lean more to dendrochronology when it comes to dating.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah, we lean on dendrochronology, but you can't. There's only one thing you can date dendrochronologically. You can't date anything else that way.
Okay. So that was my first question, to see you know, where you stand, what your beliefs are now. It seems like you're more not more so, but you do subscribe to the tenets of evolution, and you feel like you could be in the agnostic category.
Yeah.
So kind of open. Okay. So dealing with the prophecies, dealing with, because you said there's no higher power behind the writings of the Bible. What about the prophecies, the things that were written aforetime that actually came to pass?
Okay. Like, for example, what, like Deuteronomy 28:68?
No, I'll give you a better one. The Isaiah scroll mentions Cyrus 2 centuries before he even came on the scene. Mentions King Cyrus by name.
I never heard that one before.
Yes.
Never heard that one. Cyrus was the one during the time of the Greeks, was it?
So Cyrus
right before the Greeks.
Yeah, Cyrus came and took down Nebuchadnezzar. Cyrus, along with Darius, they came and took down Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians, and Isaiah says this in, let me just get the exact date or the circa. So Isaiah says this in.
Could it be that Isaiah wrote it after, though? I don't know.
Well, according to the dating methods of the scriptures and the events that he spoke on, they're dating it to past 7 BC. So it's going, the universal date I have on the specific chapters where he's talking about Cyrus is 711 BC. Right? 711.
Yeah, so yeah, Cyrus definitely doesn't exist yet.
Cyrus didn't come on the scene until about 539 BC, and he mentions him by name. And not only that, he says what he's going to do, that he's going to write the edict. Well, it doesn't say he's going to write the edict, but he says that he's going to allow us to rebuild our temple during the time that we're freed from the Babylonians. And so this is hard for any atheist. I've never seen any atheist or even Muslim, or the Muslims respect the prophets, but I've never seen any atheists challenge this or rebut this, because this is just one of those things that you can't erase from the Bible. So that's just one example. But dealing with that, does it not? I mean, is it just coincidental, or is there some type of divinity or higher power inspiring him to write these things?
I think that he probably or whoever wrote Isaiah was probably that event had already passed. Maybe that's what I think. I don't know how they dated, because I mean, are they carbon dating it?
No, you wouldn't be able to carbon date the parchment. It's not, you're not doing with carbon dating. It's you have relative dating, and then you have what's the other damn, how am I forgetting this? It sounds kind of funny, like starts with an A. Hold on real quick. It's how you date written thing. No, not absolute thing. It's if it's something's written, they go with the style it's written, the language is written in, and that's how they do it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know right what I'm saying. Dating method, writing. Hold on. Starts with an A. And what's the word, man? I always uses this. Hold on. And what is that sound? Who is that? They started again.
That's San Miguel. You got your earphones,
that's the brother,
right, brother?
Yeah, the headphone. That would have sounded like the headphone. It's like Argan dating. Argon. There it is. Argon dating, not Argan. Argon. So things like that. That's how we get 711 BCE. And we have several other examples like that, but that's a cold one, Deacon.
Yeah. So when you a lot of dating too, like the brother said, relative or comparative text, right? You look at the style, of writing, you look at the scrolls or papyruses. That gives you a great idea of the time period of the text when it was written. So that's just, like I said, that's just one example. Another one is Daniel. So, but there is. So some people say the book of Daniel is 6th century BC, right? Or not 6th, 6th century BC, meaning from 500 to 600, right? But he speaks about Alexander and the Greeks coming to conquer, and that was at least 1 or 2 centuries after he had written that. And the reason why we know that, so some scholars, they take Daniel to be the third century BC just because of the editorial work done on the text. But the style of allegoric writing was from the time of the Babylonian period.
Yeah, so and they found and there's corresponding tablets that were found about 3 years ago in Babylon that correspond with Daniel to substantiate his contemporary was during the Babylonian captivity, not later on.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta look into that. I never heard about that. Well, all I heard from Daniel is that a lot of the history and some of the time frames when people ruled that they were spoken of was not matching history. I don't remember exactly what, so that's all I could say on that. But I mean, yeah, I'll look into that. But all I could say is that how do we really know that it was written before they prophesied? Because
science, brother, what you believe in, science.
But how can they? Well, what you said was what was it? Argon.
Argon, yeah, Argon dating.
I'll look into that. I can't rebut that. Like I said, I like to consider myself pretty logical. So if I don't know, I'm not gonna make pretend like I know. But I'll definitely look into that though. That's a good one.
Yeah, as well as like
making notes of all that.
As well as I said, the relative, going relatively to around, in and around the area. What were people writing? What are they finding? When are they dating things? And kind of getting a general consensus that way as well.
Yeah. So that was just okay. So now I guess we can move on to my next question. Okay. So you believe in some of the Bible as far as like you just believe it's wise words or advice or.
Yeah, like that. Like I believe in some of the things, some of the history. Like I'll give you an example on
history.
Right, the history, Second Kings chapter 17 or 18, I believe, when with Sennacherib.
Yeah, when he comes and takes Israel into captivity.
Right. So that was one of the things that made me really start looking at the Bible, because there's Sennacherib's Annals, Sennacherib's Prism, which has the story which is in the Bible. So that's accurate and that's corroboration. So I look for things like that to corroborate something. I don't just take the Bible and say I believe it wholeheartedly. I like to, corroborate it with other things. So Sennacherib's Prism mentions the whole story where they sacked Judea. They had already taken the 10 tribes, and then they had, I think it was King Jehu. I think
Yeah, Jehu.
they had him, Jehu, right? He paid tribute, and then it says that they had they kept. I guess they started fighting after he had already paid tribute. They had came back, and then some angels came and fought and killed the Assyrians. About like an even number of the Assyrians were killed, and then it tells you, and then it go. I think that's something that was added because you don't find that in Sennacherib's Prism. But then when you keep reading, it tells you like his son came and assassinated him and all of that, which is actual history. So it's all written, which of course it could have been written afterwards. But I think what the Israelites did was add that little story with the angels, because I think if Sennacherib or any one of his soldiers had seen angels, come down and fight, I think that's something that would have been written. That's a big thing. So when I saw that, I'm seeing now you got two stories where one thing is in the Bible, but then you don't see it in Sennacherib's. Then I know that whoever wins in history, whoever wins the battle usually writes history. So I know that that's a possibility. But at the same time, to me, it seems like the Israelites were trying to add that in to say that God is still with us, even through the conquest, because they were conquered by the Assyrians. So, why would the angels just come and fight one little battle? So that was a little off for me. That's something that opened my eyes a lot with some, the truthfulness that's in the Bible. But I don't know if you ever heard of that with Sennacherib's Prism, but they actually found that. That's the thing that you can go.
Yeah, you have all of it. You have the release where you can see the Israel bowing to
Right.
to Sennacherib and all that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the release, exactly. So yeah, that's one of the things right there. So I mean, there's some history in the Bible. There's some great history. It's not nothing to just throw it away. I still read the Bible, but there's those things that I'm very skeptical about.
And the majority of things that you're skeptical about is you feel like like we talked on before we went live is what you would say the supernatural aspects would be the main where your main skepticisms come in.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the issue with me.
Okay. Are you familiar with other things in science or in nature like that? Science is kind of rendered as like anomalies or miracles or unexplainable.
Yeah, I think, but when it comes to things that are unexplained, I think that says it all right there. It's it's something that you got to be agnostic about, because it's unexplained. So at that point, it's like we don't have any evidence, we don't have any data, so we shouldn't come to any conclusions. But I mean, yeah, I'm aware of certain things. I've seen videos of things that is just unexplained. Trucks just look like they're just being pulled magnetically or something. I've seen things like that, and it's like, that's why I still keep myself open. I never make any definitive statements. That's why sometimes I don't go out there and call myself an atheist, because people sometimes think that means that I definitively say that there is no God or that there is no angels. I'm not gonna put myself in that position because I want to keep myself, open at least.
So would you say as far as your moral compass goes,
Yeah.
you're right and wrong, would you say that's Bible based?
No, I don't use the Bible. I use like what's called the golden rule, pretty much, for the most part.
What's the golden rule?
Well, what they say, treat everybody how you want to be treated.
Who came up with that golden rule?
I think you can find that in the Code of Hammurabi, but I don't know who came up with it. But it doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter who comes up with it. If it works, it works. You know, that's how I look at it. If it
So
makes
that's
sense,
like a universal rule.
right, right,
Okay.
yeah.
So and if one, so pretty much that's just how you live by, just the one golden rule: treat others as you want to be treated.
Yeah, for the most part, you know, I try not to do things to people that I wouldn't want them to do to me. Pretty much, yeah. I think that covers a lot. I'm not sure. I can't think of anything that wouldn't cover, but yeah, that
Hmm.
covers everything. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that the Bible, because that's just like what Chief Priest Ahlazar was saying about um the flood stories. So we see that all these communities, these civilizations, a lot of the times they do have that golden rule being passed around: do to others as you know you want, as you would do to yourself, right?
Right.
So the Bible teaches that too as well. So how would you remove yourself from the Bible if um the Bible teaches that golden rule also?
See, but I don't remove myself from the Bible. I take every claim, and I look at it individually. You know, so if there's one thing that looks really good in the Bible, I'm gonna just stick with that, and I won't take everything else like overgeneralize and say now, you know, I'm gonna take the whole. That's what I did when I first came into that church. You know, I saw one thing that I liked that made sense, and you know, everything else was kind of like easier for me to be convinced. But
So do
so
you
I look
believe
at.
that? Do you
Mhm.
believe? Sorry to cut you off. I want to get to something more important. Somebody posted this in the comment board, and I think this is a good question. Who are the Israelites today? Did they ever exist? Were they an actual people?
Yeah, I believe that there's evidence of that. They definitely existed. There's
Okay.
evidence of that. Yeah. But
Now,
who are they today?
yeah, who are the Israelites today? Who and where are they?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you that at all. I mean, there's definitely some evidence, but the evidence is like people are practicing customs similar, like in Africa, but then some of their languages are similar to Hebrew, like the Yoruba tribe. There's some tribes out there, but then you can find that almost even in Poland. You know, you can find some people up there that practice some Jewish customs. You know, the Kaifeng Jews are another people. So I wouldn't know. And that question also, I think, assumes that Israelites are even still out there too. Like we don't know if there's, you know, I couldn't even say if the Israelites are still out there. It could be that some of the Israelites were just completely destroyed or had mixed in so much that you don't even, you know, we can't even know who they are right now. But from what I've studied, I mean, I've read like I was recently reading about someone named Eldad the Danite, which is like actual history of a Danite, a guy who claimed to be a Danite at least, that he was in East Africa, and there's a whole book on that you could read about Eldad, and he was saying that the tribe of Naphtali, the tribe of Dan, the tribe of Issachar, and another tribe had like a province and provinces in East Africa. So, you know, I look at I read a lot. I look at the history and the connection between what people claim, and some things I mean some things I don't agree with, some things I do, as far as the 12 tribes thing. But the 10 tribes claim is something that that's one of the first things I read and did my research and realized that there's something off about that 10 tribes claim in second Esdras.
You're Puerto Rican, brother?
I'm Dominican.
Dominican. Okay. My fault. I know that I know that can be offensive to some, so
No, not at all.
my
Not at all.
apologies.
Hey, real quick. You got it. 1 second. He said something. I just wanted to make sure. So you
Yeah.
said we can kind of identify who might be Israelites by their practices and customs, correct?
I mean, that's the thing, is that that's a genetic claim, or that's a genetic question. So we can't just go by practices and languages. We have to actually go into the DNA and the genetics.
Well, that's the thing. No, you mentioned. I want to speak about DNA as well,
Yeah.
but you mentioned that these tribes and their customs. You didn't really speak on the DNA at that point.
Yeah, I know. I should have threw that out there because I mean, to me, that would be what would definitively show, instead of just a practice, because anybody can take a practice, anybody can take a language and claim it to be their own. So it's something that, just somebody claiming something. I mean, yeah, you can go into the history, you can maybe trace and see that, okay, these people, they traveled from here, and then before that they were here. You could do that. But the best way to do it, I think, would be DNA. But then you would have to go back and get Israelite DNA and compare it. So it's like, how do we do that?
Okay. Ahlazar, you got it. Unless you.
I was just asking if he was Latino, and then of course it was the follow-up would be is that why you looked into the 10 tribes thing so much?
Oh yeah, because I'm Dominican. I went right to the 10 tribes, pretty much the whole 12 tribes breakdown, pretty much, because that was one of the things that I first learned and I first wanted to learn, and I read all the books. I read the 10 tribes, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, Origin of the American Indian by Lee Eldridge Huddleston. I actually I don't have it anymore. It was a family member's book, but that book is like $400. That was a good book. It has a lot of different claims in there, though. One of the claims is that these Indians might be Jews because of some of the customs. There's also other
practices, languages.
Yeah.
Some will claim Egyptian as well. Some will claim
I think the Scythian claim was the one that I think was the most.
This point. Yeah, yes. and there's even a what's the claim? It's Vikings, one of the, not the Vikings. Damn it, because there's some evidence of what is it? It's one of the they're like the Greek islands. Who am I thinking of? The Minoans. That's what.
Minoans.
Yeah, there's a Minoan claim as well. Real quick though, you being Dominican, I'm Haitian, right? So quick just question. So Genesis 49, 5-6, right? I'm sure you're familiar.
Right.
Beat them not united, things like that. That doesn't strike you as a peculiar, coincidence at least?
Not to me. The thing is that we already have it in our mind that Simeon is Dominican and Levi.
I'm talking about the divide between the people, right? Because Haitians, we can go everywhere. We can go in all the Latin countries that aren't black. We can go in the black countries, and we can generally get warm welcomes, except from Dominicans, right? Typically, not in every case. Not every Dominican just hates Haitians, of course not. But there's a level of dysfunction. There's a level of just disunity between us, more so than I would say any other two groups amongst blacks and Latins. So that's why I'm just asking, does that strike you peculiar? That's all. You can answer however you want.
Not really, because of I know the history.
Of course it's historical, yeah.
And my wife is Haitian,
Okay,
and I know that just because they're sharing that land, it's always going to be an issue with the history of the French and the Spanish. Yeah,
and of course, a lot of people don't know that the Haitian had enslaved indigenous, who called now Dominicans over the course of time, or at least the southern kingdom of Haiti, had done that. So a lot of people don't know a lot of the origins of the history. Us being from the culture, we understand that there's a lot of things that happen in the island, and of course, we have the Trinitarios that come and come with a lot of indoctrination towards the Dominicans and things like that. So it's a lot that went on. But I've always, just from the perspective of Haitian, find that very peculiar, being that I know how Haitians are accepted elsewhere in Latin America versus the DR. Even swimming to Cuba, you can get a lot warmer welcome than you can get just on the other side of the island. So
I mean, Haitians helped even, I think, Ecuadorians liberate, man.
Ecuador, Venezuela, Mexico, we help a lot. Colombia, we help a lot. So that's what I'm saying. Like, even if I talk to brothers who is fresh immigrants, and they'll say, okay, where did you come from? Oh, I went to Guatemala. I went to Mexico. I went here. I went there. Did you go to DR? No, I don't go to DR because they don't like us in DR. You know what I'm saying? I could go everywhere else, but if I come to DR, you know, I'm gonna get, you know, I'm gonna get hell. And there's a lot of Dominicans that are Haitian. You know what I'm saying? That really is just, you know, three or four generations ago. You know, they was a lot of people don't know Albert Pujols' grandfather is Haitian.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't know that, but like, you know what I'm saying. So but then you have a case like you, and there's a lot of times where we do come together, but just the general consensus is.
Well, on that island, it's a whole different story. Me and my wife are from New York, so we you know,
the cultural divide isn't as serious stateside as it is on the island back home. Yeah, for sure. You're right. But yeah, Deacon, you go ahead.
Okay, so we spoke about DNA.
Yes.
Do you think DNA is a trustworthy? Well, here we go with faith again. So you have faith in DNA.
I think it's pretty reliable. I think I think DNA is pretty reliable as far as looking at the patterns, what they say, the sequences in the DNA, how you can compare it, and I mean, you can tell when somebody is related to each other based on their DNA.
Of course, but how far back do you believe it goes?
It only goes, I think, 1,000 years.
1,000.
Yeah, it only goes back 1,000 years. I did my DNA test before.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you don't. What you're saying is there's no way to prove if somebody's an Israelite by their DNA at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to prove that. I don't know. I would have to look more into it.
Because we know Israel as a nation is destroyed 2,000 years ago. So anything after that, we're dealing with a diaspora, and now we are dealing with different. This is where we get all the different claims of these people are Israelites, though, because Israel's just been totally dispersed after that. So the only way to do it would be able to get a DNA sample from an individual who we could emphatically say was an Israelite. And like you said earlier, that really can't be done. So there really would be no way to genetically prove whether or not someone is Israelite.
Yeah, that's why that who are the Israelites question is, to me, is I don't know if we can even answer that based or definitively. We would have to have faith, you know. We would have to go by, like you said, faith, and just have, you know, a certain understanding. You know, y'all read the scriptures, so y'all go off of that, and I understand. I mean, trust me. Listen, I used to believe in it. I understand why people believe they're Israelites. You know, it makes sense to them. It made sense to me at the time. I just wanted to go back and make sure I wasn't making any mistakes, and I just haven't been convinced of that. From all the studies I've done, it just hasn't convinced me yet.
Right.
But I understand it, you know, and I was trying to talk to other camps and see who was out there. I mean, I'm glad y'all responded, by the way. I appreciate that, because y'all were the only ones that really you know, stepped up to the challenge. And everybody was saying, why don't you have to speak to SICARI, speak to Hakah? You know, everybody, because I know a lot of Israelites. I know I'm still cool with a bunch of Israelites, and none of them wanted to do this with me. And a few cats was like, yo, Hakah, holla at Hakah, Deacon Hakah. I was like, I don't know who that is. I definitely heard of you, High Priest, but
Chief, not high.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chief Priest.
It's a difference. Chief, not high, and not Chief High either.
Oh, right.
And not knee high.
Gotcha.
Definitely not knee high, priest.
Which is biblical.
That's right. Which is biblical. There we go.
So when we look at I want to ask a couple more questions, and I want to go into said prophecy that we spoke about. Also, a few more prophecies, just so you can understand why we believe what we believe.
Definitely.
So you believe in the Bering Strait, and I just want to inform you, my main man Ahlazar Bunloya, he's got his PhD in the whole Bering Strait thing. So you believe in the Bering Strait, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead, Ahlazar.
What leads you to believe in the Bering Strait? Because you know that modern science is, like, when I say modern, I mean like the up-to-date science like the Bering Strait theory is an outdated theory as of 2019.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they now are saying that the indigenous peoples sailed in from different parts of the world. They didn't go over the Bering Strait chasing woolly mammoths, which to me is an asinine ideology in and of itself, because we can't even see the diet that reflects anything woolly mammoth like after the extinction of the woolly mammoth by the indigenous people. But the now working theory is that they sailed in from different parts of the world and began to populate, as opposed to the Bering Strait. They sailed in from different parts of Asia, Polynesia, even possibly Africa. That's what the working theory is now, not the Bering Strait theory.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, from the last thing I looked up, from what I researched, they're saying that they crossed over from Northeast Asia through the Bering Strait, which is still connected. Alaska and Russia is still connected. This is underwater. And you can see, I mean, because the Alaskans are not part of the 12th tribe, so would you say that they're Israelites though?
Hold on, say that again. You're cutting out. I couldn't hear you.
Brother Miguel,
Yeah.
You're on your earphones. I think you're on your earphones. So when you move around, your mic is swishing against your chest. So you got to kind of grab it off you and speak into it. Yeah. So we can hear you. That's why it's staticking. But you got it. Go ahead. Say what you said again, because we couldn't hear you.
Okay. So my thing is, like, with the Alaskans, right? Like, there's evidence that the Alaskans and Mexicans are connected and related to each other. So, but then they're not part of 12 tribes. But I know some people say that they are Israelites. So
yeah.
I don't know where y'all stand. So
we believe they're Israelites. The Inuits and Alaska Natives certainly believe they're Israelites.
Okay. All right. So, all right, that's cool. Because they are related. So, all right. So that makes sense.
Yeah, they would have to be. They have to be, of course. If everyone else, if all the other people in America, if we believe all of them is Israelites, how are we going to just isolate, the one that live in an igloo?
Right. Okay. So from Alaska, North America, Canada, down to South America, those are the Israelites, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we.
Okay. All right. I wanted to clear that up because it's just not in the chart. So it's like you have to, people have to go more in detail.
Yeah. People always have to. I mean, that's something people have to understand about the 12 tribe chart and what's being said in the statement that's being made. There's further inquisition that needs to be made. It's kind of like blanket in general. I.e., if the tribe of Levi is Haitians, right? That doesn't mean only Haitians are Levites. If you know the history of the Haitian diaspora in and of itself, and all the places Haitians were took, even amongst the Caribbean, half of the Trinidadians are Haitian, half of St. Lucians are Haitian, all of Guadeloupe, Martinique, half the Afro-Cubans are Haitian, French Guiana, Suriname, Brazil. So, but if you don't ask, you won't know. But people just see that and say, "Oh, it's just that." No, you got to make inquisition. It's a chart. It's limited to the amount of text it can have on it. So, it's kind of there as like a foundation to make further inquisition and learn more. Native American, broad term, it would include Alaskan Native. You know what I mean? Even understanding the Seminole Indian being the tribe of Reuben, it extends into the Creeks and things of that nature. It's not just the Seminole, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. The Creek. I did a lot of research on that.
Yeah, because that's where the Seminole come from, the Creek. The Creek. They're just a little creek.
And I live pretty much like a few miles away from Seminole County.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
in Florida,
there's a lot of stuff with the Seminole Wars, Seminole Indian Wars, and all that. There's a fort not far from me.
Okay.
Not too far, where they actually, some of the Caucasians held it down while they were fighting Chief Osceola.
Okay.
So but yeah, the Seminole Indians are a mix. That was one of my biggest gripes. I actually I saw you Ahlazar. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, Ahlazar.
And you said chief priest.
Yeah, chief priest, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just call it chief priest. Yeah, I saw you in Orlando. You came out here before, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that same location where y'all was at, I seen GMS out there.
Yeah.
So we got into it about that, about the Seminole Indians and the Native and North American Indians, because yeah, for the most part, the Seminole Indians are the Creek or the Muskogee Indians.
Muskogee, they like to call themselves Muskogee.
Yeah. So, but then they mixed in with others that came from different parts, from Oklahoma. Osceola himself was from Oklahoma. His father, Osceola, was white, actually, or Spaniard.
Wow.
Because Osceola,
his pops was Spanish. I never knew that.
Yeah, his father was Spanish from Oklahoma, or he was Spaniard, but his mother was an Indian from Oklahoma.
Okay.
I forgot what tribe specifically she was from, and that's another thing with the 12 tribes claim, because a lot of the Native Americans go by what is it, the mother's lineage?
Matrilineal. Yeah, there's certain tribes that do matrilineal, certainly. Yeah.
So you're gonna have Israelites, or you're gonna have Native Americans that you might start teaching, and they're gonna claim to be Native Americans, but they're only claiming that through their mother. So that's another issue I see with the 12 tribes. A lot of the Native American Indians go by the matrilineal. Like, you find very few that go by the patrilineal.
Well, that's not necessarily true. It really actually varies upon region. Like in the Southwest and in the Southeast is where the majority of the matrilineal tribes are. But when you go elsewhere, it's all typically patrilineal. But there are tribes in the Southwest and the Southeast that have a higher concentration of being matrilineal. But the Southeast tribes are like the Muskogee, the Cherokee. Those are the tribes that are from the Southeast. So those are kind of like the more well-known tribes. So that's why it may seem that. But if you look, because technically there are 900 Native American tribes in the country and about 500 recognized. Of those hundreds, the vast majority are patrilineal. But some of the more popular ones that are concentrated in the Southeast or the Southwest, because those are the ones everybody knows: Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole, Navajo. Those are the ones that everyone knows, right? So that's why it may seem like that. But in truth, if you look at the majority, they're still patrilineal. Just like West Africa, like the Akan in West Africa are matrilineal. There's probably like 7 prominent matrilineal groups in the West Africa, but then all the hundreds of others are all patrilineal. So that's why it could, I'm sure you see us interface with the conscious community guys. Like Jabari have made the claim, well, West Africa is matrilineal. I mean, outside of the Akan, who's matrilineal in West Africa, I asked him on tape. He never produced any other one tribe that was matrilineal, but just tried to paint the matrilineal picture predicated upon the Akan and the Akan's popularity being that they're from Ghana, and Ghana have the year of the return, and they're kind of the ones who are going out of their way to connect to African Americans. So there's that. You see what I'm saying? But truthfully, overall, it's patrilineal.
Okay. Yeah. The ones that I looked into was mostly the Seminole, what makes up the Seminole tribe. So yeah, that's the Choctaw, Muskogee, Creek, or Muskogee is Creek, Chickasaw.
The civilized tribe, the 5 so-called civilized tribes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let me see. Yeah, I was reading. So that second Ezra's chapter, second Ezra chapter 13. See, when I was reading that, now that I read it, and I look at it from a neutral stance, and I don't assume anything, and I look at it as, I don't see them traveling on boats in that scripture to America. I don't know. I don't see it anymore. When I read it, I see from verse 40, it says those are the 10 tribes. Then when you start getting down, I don't know if you want to read it, but somewhere around there, it says, I think it's verse 44. It says that the Lord held still the floods
until they passed over, right?
Yes, exactly. So my question is, why would God need to hold any floods if they're on boats?
Okay, I'm with you. Well, the first thing, just logically, I'm gonna hit the scripture on it, because we have to take a look at the way that that's phrased in the Bible, and we have to take a look at how everything is phrased in the Bible. We have to, not everything, but I mean the situations where they walk over something dry shod, like in the case of Moses, Joshua, Elijah, and even the prophecy in Isaiah 11, we see a prophecy about them literally waters being parted and people walking through it, right? Those are emphatic times. Then we have to look at that and juxtapose it to times where people are sailing over things, right? They're on a vessel and they're traveling over water, right?
Right.
So that's what leads us to this conclusion, is because the phraseology here is consistent with that which they're in a vessel, right? Here's the scripture. Read.
This is Mark chapter 6, just for the passed over thing. This is Mark chapter 6, verse 51. And he went up unto them into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered, for they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hard. Now I just read that to get the context. Verse
right. They're on a vessel, right? Go ahead.
And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. So
there was troubled waters. We know Christ here is rebuking the waters, calming them down, and that allowed them to pass over. Same exact type of phraseology in both instances. Also, we know, especially amongst the Native Americans, there's a saying, right, about still waters. What does still waters mean? Like a calm water, waters that are the opposite of the rapid raging waters that are dangerous and hard to navigate. So what it's saying there, or what I'm getting from that, is that the Most High ensured that the waters were still in order for them to pass over via vessel, just like same thing right here we read in the gospel.
That's good. That's good. That's a good one. Because I presented that to somebody and they were kind of stuck. So that's a good response. Okay.
All praise.
The next verse, though, like this is the one that got me right here. That says through that country. So there, you know, which country is that? Because it seems as if they're going through a country. So through that country, it took 1.5 years. Now, if they're on water, how could they be going through a country?
Through a country, of course. And that's why something has to be looked at the original text. You have to look at the original Greek, because the Hebrew of Second Ezra, of course, does not exist. That's why you have to get these exhaustive lexicons to take a look at things like that. Okay, because instead of through that country, if you look in the lexicon, it's supposed to say through that country. I mean, to that country.
To that country.
To that country. Right. But the average brother because these lexicons, like I said, I've got a lexicon, the Bowers lexicon. And I on a fluke, I got it for $20. This lexicon is damn near $200 to obtain for anybody, and it's not even really in print. Like, you got to get a used one, and it's going to cost you. So the average brother do not have this. It's not a resource that you can get online and things like that. So people are not having this ready available, but things like that can help in these instances, because it has Greek entries for not only just the New Testament, it's got other writings, the Josephus, all kind of stuff that's in Greek, and it's showing you what, you know, the word and how it's used, the context it's used in by all these different writers during all these different times, and it kind of gives you a better example. But really, it should say to that country as opposed to through that country. The different translations differ, because even there's a translation of the Apocrypha I have called the Good News translation, right? So in the Good News translation, it's a matter of fact, get the GNT real quick.
I have it.
Get the Good News in 13. Yeah, get that, because this says a whole lot more than is even in the text in the Good News. Because I believe it's kind of dictated upon the understanding of the translator. Like a lot of things, the understanding of the translator kind of could skew a translation. But go ahead. 2
Ezra 13:45 in the GNT, it says their long journey through that region, which is named Arsford, took 1.5 years.
No, not that. Before that. It's before that. 44. Hold on, this is a GNT right here. Watch this. It says where they, like, it gives a direction.
Oh, we're talking about Euphrates, I think.
No, not Euphrates. It say they went east. It say they went east here. People you saw with there.
Yeah, if they went east, then through the Euphrates.
Yeah, the east.
Then
that will put them in Asia, of course. But that's what I'm saying. It's not in the actual Greek, but in this version, I think it says they went east. Go ahead.
2 Ezra 13:40 in the GNT. These are the 10 tribes of Israel who were taken away into captivity in the time of King Hosea, King Salmanassar of Assyria captured them and deported them to a foreign land east of the Euphrates River.
Oh, okay. I'm bugging. All right, that's what it's saying. It said they were deported east. Now, okay, all right, my fault. I always thought it said that they went east, even though I know that's not in the Greek. But all right, that's cool. I was mistaken.
Yeah. So that would have been before they took the council to go to a further country.
Before all that, exactly.
Right. So,
And I would couple that with like the Mayans and things of that nature had their history says they landed in Florida coming from the east. That's what their history says. And then there's actual archaeological evidence that substantiates that the Mayans set up shop in Florida initially. In Key Largo, there's a Mayan temple that was built.
Well, that's kind of I never put that together, but those Indians that were, sorry to cut you off, but those Indians that were in South Florida, they were called the Miami Indians.
Yeah, which is where you get Miami from. Exactly.
So that's I never put that together. You might have something there.
Yeah, you should check out my the Viva Yasharala series I did. At least the first.
Oh yeah, you just did that a few weeks ago. I was watching.
Yeah, I've been doing it 6 parts. So especially, I mean, really all of them when you get time, because it's a lot of because a lot of times, a lot of brothers, especially mainstream, or it's predominantly what we would call Southern Kingdom or Jews. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, especially Judah. So the predominant focus has always been around Judah and not as much to the other tribes. So there's certain information about the other tribes that a lot of people have just not gone into or unearthed. So going into like the Popol Vuh, the Mayan Bible, the different legends, the different prophecies that the Aztecs had, certain other Native Americans had, and things like that, and drawing the parallels, showing a lot of cultural similarities, eschatological similarities, things of that nature. That's what that is going into, as well as history and archaeology and things of that nature. So they definitely had a Mayan temple at Key Largo that is still standing today. And there's another site.
That's not that far of a drive.
Yeah, and there's another site. It's in like Central Florida where they have Mayan glyphs in Central Florida. I forget the name of it off top, but if you could literally Google it up. It'll pop up the name of the site and things of that nature. So I would definitely urge you to check that out.
Yeah. So let me interject real quick. So Arthurith, according to your studies, brother San Miguel TV, we have to change the title. We didn't know it was the famous San Miguel TV. So according to your studies and understanding, what is Arthurith, and how can you prove whatever your stance is on where it's at?
So I came across two different theories, I guess, from what I'm reading. So the most popular one is that Arthureth is somewhere up by the Black Sea. So that would be west of the Black Sea, I believe, by where modern day Poland is at. That's the most popular theory, that they walked, and that the reason why it says that the Lord held still the floods is because they needed to walk through or across the Euphrates.
Okay. Do you have a source on why you say where that is?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. So there's a map. If you Google Arthureth Black Sea, you're gonna see some map.
I've seen that map actually. Yeah.
You seen that? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking about.
And then some of the history on the Scythians and the Cimmerians, which was right around the Black Sea, they say that their language was very similar to the Hebrew.
Okay, so because there's a school of thought that I've heard that people who believe, there's certain people, a segment of the Israelite community that subscribes to that theory, and then believes later that when you go into the New Testament, Paul, etc., is sent to those people, and that's the Gentiles that he's preaching to. Have you heard that theory before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
are you of that school of thought?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's very, very believable.
Okay.
And also like what I mentioned earlier about Eldad the Danite, which
Mhm.
that's a written history, and this is like 9th century.
Yeah, I'm
Or
familiar with the Eldad rather history, definitely.
Yeah. So he was mentioning that there was a bunch of the tribes still around
Still around you.
on that part of town, on that part of the world. And then, but the other, I mean, there's a lot of other Israelites, and I was watching some of their videos and trying to see what they say. And they're saying that there's a map. They found a map, but it's the word that they found wasn't Arsareth. It was Asaraf.
Yeah, you talking about the river in Morocco?
Yes, or Angola, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. I seen that. I seen that recently. Like you said, I mean, it's a river.
Yeah.
That's highly subjective. And the thing to me is too, especially when we're dealing with Israelites, maybe not so much you, but brothers who believe they're Israelites. Now you would have to believe, according to Second Ezra, that whoever the 10 tribes are in that place. Right. So if we go to Morocco, it's Moroccans, it's Arabs that are there, or even if you go to Angola, so you can't. A lot of times they'll go there and then try to paint that as half of Africa or something like that, which. Now that's just that's a river in a country. We can't come to the conclusion that that's all these people, which is why I think it's more logical from our faith-based perspective to say it's the people of the Americas because they're here right now. We could say they've been here for this long and they're going to remain here, and we're all going to remain here, until salvation comes, so to speak. So that's why I would say, just at least from the faith-based perspective, it's a lot more sound than the other faith-based, contrary perspectives that exist.
Another thing I wanted to say also about the Native Americans and the Asian connection is that they have similarities in how they metabolize alcohol. When the Spaniards and the Europeans, whatever, came out here and they first gave alcohol to the Native Americans, they had trouble metabolizing it.
Mm-hmm. To this day.
To this day, yeah.
No,
they still have that issue. It's and the Asians have that same issue, like
definitely.
So that's something that that's a genetic connection there.
I would say so, and it's a genetic connection with the Native American, not so much with the Latino Indian brothers, but mostly just the ones who are north of the border, right, and in Canada and Alaska, which is interesting, right? Are you familiar with the Ainu people?
Sounds familiar, but I don't.
The Ainu is what you would call the indigenous Japanese people, right? There's evidence that suggests voyages back and forth from Alaska to Japan, cultural exchanges, intermarriages, and there's also a plethora. If you look up the Ainu, it'll blow your mind. They had temples that they built that had the exact same dimensions as the temple in Israel. And beliefs and practices that were consistent in a language. Even if you look at the Japanese language, it's very similar to Paleo Hebrew in pronunciation. Like, for example, I'm sure you're familiar with the term Yahawashai. That word exists in Japanese, but instead of Yahawashai or Hawashai, it's pronounced Hawashi, but it's the same exact word. Transliterated.
Same meaning?
Not exactly necessarily the same meaning, but as far as the character and things like that, they translate really similarly. And there's documentation. I'm sure you've heard of Yeshaya, who they call him High Priest Yeshaya. Yeah, he's gone into a lot of the information about that. So there's a lot of strong evidence that suggests both that the Ainus are Hebrews and then that the Ainu had interrelations with the Native Americans. And that's where I would show that synthesis there between the two groups, between the Native American and the Asian. I believe I would chalk it up to intermarrying and dealing with the Ainu people who were their brothers on the other side of the Pacific.
Okay, I see
because like I said again, we don't see that with the Aztec didn't have that problem, the Mayan didn't have that problem, the Taino didn't have that problem, but the Native American, he had a real hard time metabolizing it to this day. I mean, to this day, we can go to the Latin community, brothers are knocking them back all day, but the Native American community, they on their ass behind that alcohol. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I would believe that.
I think that would be a good little experiment there. I mean, with the Hispanics, I think we have some of us at least. I know when I did mine, I had very little Taino left in me. It was like, you know, maybe 12% or something like that. You know, I know y'all don't really go by that, but you know,
I think it's just with the DNA. I think it's problematic. We have to take a look at who is the gatekeeper for this science and information. Not that this actual science of DNA itself is unreliable, but we do have to look at, because, like, for example, what company did you do your DNA through?
My Ancestry.
So Ancestry.com or just My Ancestry is different.
I think it's Ancestry.com.
Ancestry, right? So you know that Ancestry is controlled by Mormons.
No, I didn't know that.
So Mormons invented Ancestry.com and the DNA test because they have a narrative and an agenda that they're trying to push, right? So we have to be wary of these things, and that's why. And even they have that disclaimer that this is not to be relied upon for anything serious. Like I know brothers personally who. When did you take your DNA test?
Me?
Yeah, when did you take it?
Oh, when? 2016, I believe.
Okay, so they haven't given you any updates?
Nah, everything is no updates.
So there's a lot of brothers that I know who a year later they get updated and all their numbers are totally different than they were the previous year.
Oh, really? But what I wanted to do was go through another one.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would. Even just for whether or not you rely upon it or not, I would definitely suggest get a couple done at least to kind of see, okay, is there a consistency here? Because you even had the story where you had the triplets get their DNA tested and they got completely different results, and we know they have identical DNA. We have the dog that was told that he was a quarter Cherokee or something crazy like that.
Dog?
A dog. They tested a dog. They told a dog it was an Indian. So like I believe we have to scrutinize these companies that are giving us this information. You see what I'm saying? Because there was an article that was written. It was an article that was written, I want to say in 2016. I want to say it came out in the USA Today, and it was talking about squashing the myth that the Taino no longer exists. Very, very interesting. Somebody in the brother Ariala, he just said his results changed twice. But there's a very interesting article I suggest you read that is squashing the myth that the Taino doesn't exist, because they paint this picture that all the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and Cubans are like you said, about 12.5, so like an eighth Taino, and then the rest is white and black. You know what I'm saying? And they were kind of attacking that theory and showing that there are people who are predominantly Taino that still exist. And I think that's an observable truth. There's certainly, especially amongst the DR, Puerto Rico, Cuba, there's certainly a lot of black and a lot of Spanish that's been introduced into the genetic pool as well. But I also think observably we can observe Taino Indians still, you know.
There's a lot of videos on YouTube that you could watch of people's results. They like to record it. Yeah. From what I've been seeing with the Dominicans, I think this has to do with Dominican Republic being the first, place where they landed and did most of the damn raping and all that. That's where you'd be hard pressed to find like somebody with like 50%.
Yeah.
But no, in Puerto Rico, I know somebody that came back with like 50%, 60% Taino. So yeah, Puerto Ricans, that's still the Taino. There's a documentary called The Last Taino. Yeah. You saw that one? It was like an independent dude, a Cuban dude, I think. Or I don't know what he was actually, but they went to Cuba to some remote town over there. I mean, they had to literally like cross over some river with a car. I don't even know how they got to this town. Yeah, like it was crazy. It's a dope documentary, but you see the people there and like they look like they could be like 80% Taino.
Yeah, like super indigenous.
Like they haven't been touched at all.
At all.
I mean, you could hardly. It's hard to get there, so that's probably why
people don't know, or they just chalk it up. Like but I've heard that they say that about the DR. Like pretty much everyone is just, and I hate to use this term because it's a real it's a real misnomer. But everyone in the DR is essentially pretty much mulatto. They say, like, basically everyone's just a bunch of black and white people, and some just have a little bit more black or a little bit more white or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't come across too many from my experience and from what, from how my family looks. They could go either way. I mean, it could be very European looking or
black. Yeah. My just a quick sidebar. That's what, just before me even coming into the truth and things like that. Because my pops, he traveled around for work, like all over Puerto Rico, Colombia, all over the place. And when he used to come back, because I know you're familiar with my physical appearance, he used to always say, everywhere I go, the niggas look like you. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, of course I'm black and white, so that's why I understand what you're saying totally. But yeah, Deacon, you got any more questions? Deacon, you there?
Oh, he's on mute.
He's on mute.
Shalaki. Okay, so we covered ISRAELITE. Do you want to challenge what we call ISRAELITE?
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much not much else I could say on that. But pretty much, I think y'all covered everything. I understand it. I think I already knew pretty much what y'all understood before we got into it, but I'm glad y'all explained that whole, especially with that scripture that y'all went to Mark. That was pretty good.
Is there any questions you have for us? Because I know you've been on the defense for the last hour. Is there any questions you have for us?
Let me see. Nah, I don't think I have any questions right now. My bad. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure, it was, the fairness, so you had that opportunity presented for sure.
Yeah, nah. I mean, I actually got to be out in a few.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to say I'm glad. I want to say thank you. I'm glad y'all did this because usually when I get into these conversations with certain Israelites, it's like a problem, or they back off.
Yeah. Brothers gotta. It's why we encourage study, independent study, and you gotta be. Some brothers will jump into the ring with you and then get mad at you because you're asking them critical questions. Critical questions, of course, come from critical thinking. So brothers shouldn't be mad at you because you're asking these questions. They should just be able to I'm going to be able to present you an answer that is okay. So we believe in faith, but faith, like the Greek word for faith, indicates by persuasion, right? Hold on, Deacon. Yeah. So it indicates that there is some persuasiveness that's going on that is kind of inspiring your faith, so to speak. So, we don't just believe to believe. We believe because there's been some form of evidence that has led us to the belief or led us to the conclusion or persuaded us. So we certainly respect, understand, and encourage critical questions so we can give critical answers, because it all is evidence of critical thinking, that we're not just taking things at face value or believing it because somebody told it to us, but we're at least looking into it. You know what I mean? So a lot of time, like you said, that's why it probably gets hostile with brothers. These brothers is not doing the level of study that they probably should do. I can't just expect everybody to take a look at the Bible and believe it just because I say it's the Bible, because people say this is the word of God. Everybody's not going to believe it. So the question is, when somebody doesn't believe it, how are you going to defend, your position? You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to, a lot of times on the streets, if we encounter somebody who's an atheist, or an agnostic, my aim is to walk them back. So I'm gonna start wherever they're at. I'm gonna put the Bible on to the side, start wherever you are, and then walk you back to it, because you've already walked away from it. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, no, you don't believe it? What the hell with you? Nah, you got to be able to meet people where they're at. So I mean, all of that comes from critical thinking, and I think brothers need to just do a lot more of that.
Yeah, you got to have a good reason for what you believe, pretty much. At least present a good reason, and not just say just because. I mean, there's too much information out there,
Exactly. Definitely, brother.
But yeah, that was pretty much all the questions I had. I mean, it was just on that 10 tribes thing. I wanted to get through that somebody that has some sense. So I appreciate y'all, brother.
Definitely, brother. Definitely. Well, appreciate you, brother San Miguel, man. We can do this again, man.
Con.
Now that I know it's you, I see you on the comment board, man, and things of that nature.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, I got y'all
anytime.
email. So if if I have any questions, I'll hit y'all up.
Definitely can.
Anytime. All right, brother. Shalom.
All right, shalom.
All right, Deacon. All right, chief.
All right, brother.
All right, definitely. Shalom, brother.
All right, that was good. Good brotherly discussion. All praises.
All praises.
That was good. You guys can ask. You guys can take questions if you want to.
We're not taking no questions. Don't worry about it. I'm we make this announcement and we're gonna close out.
If any, Salaki, real quick, any questions? Just email us. Put the email.
In the question, let me tell you. So I hope y'all were listening to when we're dealing with that Ahlazar thing. I really hope you were listening, because it's a lot of Negro onlys that come with that rhetoric, and not even rhetoric. Like I said, that was a critical question, and it's not a bad question when people ask that. But a lot of time, a lot of y'all brothers, I see y'all shutting down, not knowing what to say, instead of slowing down and thinking logically and critically through the spirit. You're not doing that. That's how, when somebody tries to come with that, oh, it don't say nothing about ships or whatever BS argument they come with, that's how you deal with that right there. All through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man.
All right, big announcement. Go ahead, Chief.
Man, I'm trying to put this big announcement out, and they won't even let me screen share, man. This is incredible. Incredible. Hold on. Stay on. I'm going to try to come back in real quick.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to answer questions for like 60 seconds. Can y'all do a lesson about the creation? Absolutely. That'll be a great.
Here we go. Yeah. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. All right. Big announcement, y'all. All praise Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. I hope this was edifying. For sure. But real quick, y'all, it's official. My clothing line is up. Y'all go right here to urbanguerilla.com. That's URBNGRLA.com. We got all kind of stuff. We got stuff for the men, women, and children. As y'all can see, we got the Jesus is a Black Identity Extremist shirts. Okay, we got the menorah, different flavors. Right, the graffiti menorah done by our brother Ahlazar. Different flavors. We got it for the kids as well. Right, Call of Duty Guerrilla Warfare. We got that for the kids. Jay Shakur Cage, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah Wata Wata. We got the Exodus 15:3, which we know is the Lord is a man of war scripture with Yahweh Tazabah in the Assyrian block text, which means Lord of hosts. But as y'all can see here, Deacon, if you can mute, because that's kind of loud. We got these in different colors. All right, we got the flavors and the colorways for you. All right, we got these Guerrilla shirts as well, fashioned after the champion style. If y'all see me on Instagram, I had the hoodie with this logo on there. So as y'all can see, we got a few more also. So yeah, man, they're available now. Just go to the website, URBNGRLA.com, urbanguerilla.com. All right, and y'all can get them cracking now. Where we at? We got this one. Also, I'll be in Houston this Sunday, so y'all can come check us out in the H this Sunday. Also, a lot of these shirts are unisex too, so a woman can get a small, and the ones that don't come in a woman's style, and it will still count as a woman's shirt. We also have the oil Gorilla Mist Blue and Platinum available, so y'all can check those out. Gorilla Mist Blue and Gorilla Mist Platinum. All right, exclusive oils. It's a Gorilla logo shirt. We got this for men and children. Lawyer, the South Beach Lawyer, the black with the blue and red. All right, fashioned after the Miami Heat South Beach jersey. We also have the pink and blue. You don't want to check that out. For my ISRAELITES, we got the No Malenchismo. Y'all know what time Issachar, y'all know what that's about. No Malenchismo shirts. All right. Got it for the sisters as well. Just put this one out. Y'all know the Toronto Raptors got their North jerseys. Well, this is inspired by that Northern Kingdom, right? With the white, got the red colorway as well. We got the black and purple also. So y'all can check out the black and purple. Got the Script City after Rip City, which is the Portland Trail Blazers. All right. Got this colorway as well. Also got it for the women. We got the Shemai, done by our brother Azan. Shemai Yasharala Yahweh Allah Yanawa Yahweh Akad. Got that prayer. Got a few different colorways in this. All right. What else we got? Viva Yasharala shirts. Okay, got these and a few in honor of the series. So all praise Yahweh Shemi Awashai for that. We got this for men, women, and infant. We don't got the kid one. I got to get the kid one out, Salaki, but we got it for the infants. Oh, no, we got the kids. I'm bugging. Here go the kids one. Then we got these Yahweh over everything shirts for the men and women. We got it with the black text, the blue text, and the maroon text. Okay, so. So we cracking, man. Put your orders in. Yahweh over everything. Put your orders in through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemi Awashai. Right? And look out for more, but this is just, you know, the kind of first run. This, like, I want to say it's 19 different shirt styles. So all praise Yahweh by Shemi Awashai for enabling and empowering us to be able to do this. And thank y'all for tuning in, liking, subbing, sharing, and super chatting. In the situation room, Deacon, anything else to take us out?
Yeah, all praises. Get that get those Viva Yashara. Go support the ministry. Support the clothing ministry. All right. So yeah, it was a good build, good dialogue. And with that, that was the situation room. We're gonna give all praise Yahweh by Shemi Al Shai. Till next time, shalom.
Yeah, all praise Yahweh by Shemi Awashai. Shalom.